Welcome, my friend, to Next Level Change Success. I'm Therese Pares, a change strategist and practitioner with over 20 years of experience designing and delivering impactful change programs across various industries. In this podcast, I share real-world practical strategies to help you create and deliver positive change experiences, whether you're a leader, practitioner, or someone looking to bring new ways of working to life. In today's fast-paced world, change is constant. Here we focus on how you can put people at the centre of your change strategy, because people with a sense of purpose are the most important link in driving performance. So if you're ready to create meaningful change and achieve all the success that comes with it, keep listening. Together, let's change the conversation and take it to the next level. Hello. Welcome to another episode of Next Level Change Success. My name is Therese Pares and I'm the founder of myvirtualchangemanager.com. I'd like to acknowledge that I am recording on Tharawal country and pay my respects to the traditional owners and custodians on the land on which I am recording, and to elders both past, present and emerging. Feel like my coffee has kicked in well and truly. So today I'm looking to talk about the change that happens under pressure. And if you're introducing change as a result in a project environment, if you're introducing change because of economic pressures that the organisation is feeling and so it needs to perform better, or it could be regulatory pressure and compliance pressure that's being applied, reputational brand damage that's been applied, and actions that need to be taken to resolve that, recover from that, then there's a lot of pressure that is created. It could be you're feeling pressure because you're a new leader in a new role in an organisation, you're wanting to prove yourself, and so there is pressure for you to come in and prove yourself and to deliver what you have been essentially employed to do. So pressure takes all sorts of forms, and change and needing to lead change, deliver change, influence for change in a pressurized environment is next level. And I want to talk about some of the things for you to reflect upon if you are in that circumstance, if you're in that situation right now, delivering change, the stress that pressure applies, to self-reflect on whether you are someone who thrives in that environment or not. And sometimes that can determine whether you actually should be a change practitioner or not, because of your ability to respond to the pressure that gets applied, because it's simply a reality when it comes to change and project environments, is that there is always a degree of performance pressure. And if you are unable to handle nor respond to that, you really do need to reflect upon whether that's the right environment for you. Oftentimes, and I will have this as a fundamental truth, not all environments are for everyone. Not all projects and project environments absolutely are not for everyone. And I think sometimes there could be this need when the business is looking to move people into projects, and someone might think that's something I'm interested in, but they're not aware of the performance lens that needs to take place when you're in a project. There is an expectation around performance, there's an expectation around delivery, there's an expectation around collaboration and the ability to communicate, the ability to work with, regardless of whether the business as usual environment is what people would say is toxic or not, etc., etc. There's just this requirement. Projects need to deliver and deliver well, and what does deliver well mean? Well, it means that you're achieving the outcomes that you need to achieve. And there's not many organisations that don't have some sort of economic pressure on them, as I've talked about. Performance pressure, introduction of AI to realise efficiencies is probably the high-level driver of introduction of AI, but it's also to maintain competitiveness in the market, is to explore those ways of working. Now, stress, the ability to deal with having a lot of things outside of your control, to be able to cut through focus is one way to deal with those stresses. I always talk about if people are getting overwhelmed, it's about what can you control and what can't you control. Write it down. I do 2 circles, my locus of control, so what I can control, what I can affect change in, and in the outer perimeter, the things that maybe I'm allowing to distract myself on those things that are outside of my control and refocus your energy into the one or two things that you can do today to feel that sense of control again if you go into that space of overwhelm. Allow others to handle the things that are outside of your sphere of control, or if it's something that you're just inevitably not going to be able to change or through any sense of control because you don't have the authority within the organization, then simply put it in a too hard basket and work with it. Accept it. It's important because it means you can retain more energy for yourself and focus it on the things that you can control. So that's one way to approach dealing with the stresses of introducing and working on change. The second thing is around stakeholders, because I know this is a big stress point for many around engaging stakeholders. You don't have to like all of your stakeholders. It's okay. There will be a range of personalities that you're going to come across. But the reality is, for you to be able to deliver what you need to deliver, you need to be able to adapt your approach to the different stakeholders and also accept if some are just going to be difficult because it's their innate nature. And so through your lens, you're thinking, this person is difficult, they're asking for detail, I just need to get the job done. The reality is you just need to accept and provide the detail so that they actually become calmer, happier. If not, if you're still providing that level of detail and they're still not okay with things or okay with how it's being presented, just accept it and move on. Provide some energy to that individual. Treat them with respect at all times, but you don't need to flex and invest any more energy into them. And what you will find when it comes to stakeholder relationships, because I think this is one of the biggest stresses in organizations, dealing with the different personalities, the different dynamics, being able to navigate them well will differentiate how well you can manage change or lead change or influence for change how well you perform in that space. It is about you understanding and being able to define your boundaries and being able to continue to get cut through and continue to progress with momentum without the distraction of those dynamics. There have been some times, absolutely, when I think about my career in this space, where I have hit stakeholders who I find impossible to please, impossible to be able to give them the energy that they want because I need to get the change done. And every time I've come to that space and that realization, it's because I thought and tried many, many different ways to engage with that stakeholder. And sometimes people just simply will not want to work with others. They will not want to have a sense of empathy about other people's situations. And you have to settle to a degree with, that's not how I operate. And I won't entertain I will define the boundary if that person feels like they're entitled to disrespect me. I won't allow that to happen, but I can't control their behavior and they're not going to change because if I tell them or rally against them or complain about them, that's going to be something that they're all of a sudden going to have this momentous aha moment about their own behaviors. So you need to be discerning, and I talk about this around change intelligence, around your emotional regulation, exploring your own belief systems, what's coming up for you in this scenario. If it's a repetitive one, have I seen this behavior before? Have I elicited this reaction before? How have I created that? What can I do differently? Is there belief systems driving this, etc., etc.? And as you unpack that, you might have some really great learnings for yourself. Sometimes the biggest lesson is just being able to vocalize the boundary, being able to say no, or not insofar as saying no around I disagree. No, you can respectfully disagree around I just want to say this because it's important, because this is my job, and I am going to say I wouldn't recommend that. However, it's not my choice, it's your choice. but this is my recommendation. And if they choose different to what you're proposing, then that's their choice, right? They've got the power in the dynamic. It's their business. They're choosing not to engage their people in a transparent way. I'm not going to sit and labour over that. Sure, do I feel like there's a lot around ego where it says my reputation gets tarnished because they're not doing what I've recommended? When people address it with me, I say, well, it's so-and-so's choice. Like, they're the sponsor. So you need to go speak with them if you've got an issue with it. If there's a lot of noise happening as a result of that, I'm going to, as a change lead or a change facilitator, of course, make the sponsor and the steerer aware of that there's some noise around this and da-da-da. And if the reaction is still, well, they just don't know what they're doing and I don't care, I'll just tell them to be quiet, then that's their choice. So important that you're always being discerning about that, because just the fact that there's a change person on a piece of work, or the fact that you're considering from a change intelligence perspective the impact of a change on your team if you're a leader, is powerful. But it's not powerful if you burn out. And so when talking about stress and the stresses that exist, absolutely, there's always going to be stakeholders. There's going to be people who try and undermine the change because of their own personal process and their own personal response, or that they feel threatened, or that they feel like they need to win. It could be that they don't have any respect for their teams because of their own personal belief systems and the fact that they thrive on authority as a form of punishment. It could be a whole raft of things and dynamics that play out in organisations with people in the organisation. As I said, we're whole people when we walk through the door. So we bring all of our fantastic stuff and we bring all of our baggage as well. And the dynamics that we often play out in workplaces are family dynamics, without a doubt, because we might even be distant from family, but we bring all of our beliefs through that door every day and all of our experiences. So it just gets painted with a different brush, but it's essentially a lot of your own core dynamics playing out. So when it comes to stresses in that space, the biggest learning that you can have around the relationships, the stakeholder management, is what dynamics are playing out, what serves you. So how do you behave? Are you finding that your emotion is overwhelming and driving you to behaviors that don't feel like they're in your best interest, that don't feel like they're actually who you are? And you can choose to remove yourself from that situation, absolutely, in that stressful situation, because you will be required to deliver good change. You will be required to consider others, and you need to think about the investment of your energy. And if it's coming at a cost to yourself, then that's when I talk about removing yourself from that situation, that project, that role, because it's not a match for you. But learn the lesson. Learn what the lesson is, insofar as maybe the lesson is to actually choose yourself in the scenario versus have it at your own cost. And I see more and more, because of people's self-awareness around this and also people's change intelligence, there's a lot more that can happen in this space for people who are conscious about how they respond to stress. When is stress too much for you? And when are you finding that you're fatigued? Are you tapping out before you're fatigued? As in, are you taking a break? Are you taking just a couple of days and you just keep plowing through like the good soldier that you are? Or are you making sure you're taking care of yourself? And taking care of yourself, I've talked about this in another episode earlier this year. And hey, we're in February, so this year has not been a long one so far, but I do think this is a really important theme because of the environment and the world in which we're living at the moment. Are you ensuring your own mental health insofar as switching off on social media? Are you ensuring you're getting enough sleep? How is your nutrition? How is your hydration? How is your social, your relationships, your connection? How well are those areas of your life going? Because it is really important for you to do that quick scan every now and then, especially when the pressure is on. And you will know, I've mentioned this before, athletes and stresses, your muscles at the gym, everyone talks about the different stress elements. A certain amount of stress is healthy, a certain amount of pressure is healthy, but certainly when it becomes overwhelming, not necessarily in your response, but definitely around when it is simply too much, you need to pace yourself. And you will have found that if you've worked in high pressure environments and over a long period of time, it's very, very subtle around how worn out you get. And then all of a sudden you crash. But the more often you dust yourself off, but also reflect upon times in that journey where you may have been given signs that the stresses were too much and that you weren't taking care of yourself as well as you should have. And I don't mean this in a blame way. I mean it in a purely non-judgmental, reflective way. And you're just assessing, okay, there was a lot of stress. Did that mean I was eating more junk, eating more takeaway foods because I just didn't have the time? Was I chugging 5 coffees a day and then I got onto the power drinks and started to have those? Or was I making sure that I was maintaining at least one good practice for myself throughout that? Was I going to bed early, or was I trying to work through like I used to with studying for exams, for example? And certainly age plays a factor. What you can do in your 40s, in your 50s, even in your 30s is different to what you could do in your 20s. And I remember my 20s, I had so much fun. And even in my early 30s, it was crazy some of the stuff I did. And, just going out, sometimes burning the candle at both ends. And then over time, you kind of start to settle in different ways of life and relationships and family. And it is always good to reflect. And I talk about that kaleidoscope and turning the lens just one little fraction so that the picture changes. And every year, especially every 3 or 4 years, and because of the speed of change in our lives at the moment, which won't stop because of technology changes, etc., part of it is to bring yourself back to the basics with yourself to enable your stress response to improve, which is this simple formula of the sleep, exercise, hydration. And there might be seasons in your life, because there absolutely are seasons in everyone's life. No one is a high performer on it every single day of their life. It's an impossibility. It's not part of being human. So what we do is we always hold the intention just to show up to be the best we are. Some days that's subpar. Some days our body hurts. Some days our dog gets sick, which I definitely had last week, and my focus has to go there for support. Sometimes it's my child, sometimes it's my partner. Life happens. And so how you can also just take it easier on yourself or flex in response to that and those demands is also part of how you respond to stress in the workplace. Always be kind to yourself would be the last message. But certainly being aware of how you're coping with the stresses of change in your organization, whether it be leading change with your team, whether it be influencing for change or working in a project environment. See what fits, see what suits, be kind to yourself in different seasons, and go back to fundamentals and always look at what you can control and what you can't control, and hand the other things that you can't control over to whether it be the universe, whether it be God, whoever your spiritual beliefs are, and just allow and definitely focus on your breath, your presence for today, what you can affect. And that in and of itself will help you as a stress response tool and practice. I hope you have a wonderful day. I hope this has helped. I hope you do reflect on this today. It might be terse conversations. It might be people coming to you wanting something from you. It could be that today is a stress-free day, which hooray, love those days. Everything is different every day. Change happens perpetually. So just consider and reflect on what works for you and what doesn't, and always be present through this year around being kind and gentle to yourself, knowing that everything is cyclical and that change happens every day, even within yourself. Just a quick note at the end. I am on Instagram. I am on Instagram and Facebook. Come and DM me. Let me know of topics that you would like to hear about this year. I would like to talk more about change intelligence to support you in your awareness around self as you go and deliver change. I will talk about change frameworks this year as well. That's just the structure, but the who you're showing up as, how you are operating, always makes a difference. In fact, makes most of the difference when it comes to change, and around how effective you can be as a leader, as an influencer, as a change facilitator. And come on to Instagram. I'm at my virtual change manager. Ping me, DM me there as well if you've got topics. We always love to hear from listeners. And I hope you have a wonderful day, and I hope this added some value to your life. And just remember that change matters because you, your people, your organisation, your team, they all matter. Have a great day.